We are starting our recording, and I'm letting them all in.
Hi, Joe and Rosie.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
How you doing?
Good. Look at all of these fun, huge group today. My goodness. Lynn is a superstar. It is.
Everybody came to see Lynn.
That's really sweet.
Maybe we should have her do it more often.
That would be my pleasure. My honor, actually.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Prime Professional Group. I'm Allison Muccio. I am the Membership Development Manager here at the Boca Chamber. Happy Friday. We're happy you're here. I just wanted to let everybody know that we are very excited to have this speaker. I have seen her before. But before we go ahead and introduce Lynn, I'm going to throw it over to Chastity Navarro, who I know has some housekeeping for our Zoom meeting.
Good morning, everyone. As Allison said, thank you so much for joining us on our June Prime virtual presentation. Of course, this is generated by Zoom, so I just want to make sure that you know that we are recording this presentation for you to view later on. Share with your friends, share with your colleagues, and if you missed something and you want to rewind and go back to it, you got it right there at your fingertips on our YouTube channel in our events and resources playlist. We're going to do Q&A for this event, so make sure that you put your questions in the chat box. The chat box is at the lower end part of your, I'm sorry, I'm like admitting everybody all at the same time, but your chat box is at the bottom of your screen at the Zoom toolbar. You just have to click on the chat. You can put in your name and we'll actually select Lynn LaSalle's name if you want to just say hi, or if you're going to ask a question, select Allison's name. She'll be monitoring the chat box for the Q&A. She'll ask the questions for Lynn to answer during the end. We will be doing some poll questions today, so please make sure that you answer those poll questions because we need that information. And please enjoy the event, and we'll Zoom you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Chas. Obviously, this event would not be able to happen without Allegiance Home Health, our wonderful sponsor. And at this time, I would like to introduce Joe and Rosie Martin, who would like to say a few words about Allegiance.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to see so many participants this morning. We're so excited to hear Lynn speak about how to do an elevator speech or pitch. It's a great opportunity for everyone to improve. I am Rosie Guanza Martin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Allegiance Home Health. We're a Medicare certified home health agency. We're proudly rated 5 out of 5 stars by Medicare. It's an award that we earn quarterly, and it's because of our wonderful clinicians. We provide 2 divisions within our company. It's skilled, which is nursing, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. And also we have private duty, which are CNAs and home health aides. And the home health aides provide companionship for you. They do light housekeeping, meal preparation. They keep you safe at home. We have around 300 employees. We are in 88 cities from Broward to Indian River County. And it's something that we love to do also is give back to our community, and we love being part of the Boca Chamber.
And good morning, everybody. I think Rosie just mentioned about everything about the company, but welcome. If anybody has any questions, concerns, issues about caring for a loved one, feel free to contact us. We can be a resource to you, whether you're using our services or not. We want to be available to you. And as Rosie mentioned, we basically provide caregiving and medical care in the comfort of your loved one's home. Thank you.
I just want to mention we have a newsletter. And so if you want to hear about that newsletter, this newsletter that we just sent out, are positive outcomes of patients who have had COVID-19, as old as 104. A really cute story, uplifting. And it's email info@ahhrehab.com if you're interested in reading that wonderful story. Thank you.
Yeah, we decided not to, all this COVID stuff hopefully is going away soon, but we decided to tell about some success stories. So each week we're going to spotlight one of our former patients or current patient who has had a successful outcome, because you don't hear too much about the successful outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm interrupting real quick. I actually sent Allison a text to say I was going to say something. I was going to encourage everybody to send you their email to get on the newsletter, because since the beginning, you have provided us with information, but coming from the medical industry. And it's so much more valuable when you're hearing it from people that understand healthcare and understand this crisis in that way. So I have loved your newsletters, and I hope that everybody emails you and signs on. It's worth
Thank
it.
you. Thank you for your
Sarah.
support. Thank you.
Thanks. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Lynn LaSalle. She is an entrepreneur at heart who has worked while raising two sons that are now successful business professionals. With a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing, Lynn has managed many small businesses, worked in business development within multiple industries, started two small businesses of her own, aided others in business startups, in addition to many years of service in various specialty medical offices. Certified in health and life transformation, along with functional nutrition, Lynn founded It's Why LLC to help other professionals obtain and maintain the desired return on the investment they make in all relationships, personally and in business, while prioritizing the investment they make in their health. Now I'm going to turn it over to our friend, Lynn LaSalle.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. In the first few seconds you meet someone new, how do you capture their interest? Well, do you recognize this person? This was me. Have you ever said no to something or someone because of other things you have to do? Networking felt impossible. Well, this is my story, and it may sound familiar. I had, for a very long time, what I called many hat syndrome. And from the time I was 5, I had tiny little hats. And as I grew up to be an adult, those hats just got bigger. Why? Because I felt like I had to be what everybody expected me to be. I had to be who everybody expected me to be. I had to do what everybody expected me to do. And so everybody saw me like this. I was smart, I was successful, I always got everything done. I was Wonder Woman. I don't think so, because this was the real me. In order to get more things done, I got less sleep. I actually survived on 3 pots of coffee because of all the things that I have to do. And so I'd like to ask you all, if you wouldn't mind, playing a little imagine game with me. So as you saw, I was Wonder Woman. So who's your favorite superhero? Give it a second. I'm sure you all probably have one, right? Can you think of who their alter ego is? And I'll give you a minute to have that as well. Well, let's look at someone that everybody knows. Superman. So when he's Superman, everybody expects him to show up when someone's in trouble. Everybody expects him to take care of everything because he's super, right? Well, when he's Clark Kent, everybody expects him to report all the current news, and they also expect him to report the news on Superman. How uncomfortable is that? Well, you know what? As Superboy, he had a lot of social pressure amongst all of his friends. And he had two families, his earthly family and his alien family. I don't know if some of you may relate to that as your in-laws, but for this example, we'll just say he had all these different areas in his life where people expected him to be a different person. Does that maybe feel a little bit like wearing many hats? Did anybody ever ask Superman who he wanted to be? And if he did, what would that have been like? So I know that I developed these steps so that now I only wear one hat. That hat says me. And I only network as the me that I expect me to be. And using the 3 steps and the formula that I will share with you in a little while, you can do that too, because it definitely makes a difference in your life. So I wanted to share with you for a moment. Maria worked with me, and I met her at a networking event, and we're both coaches. And she went first, and she said her name, she's a coach, and this is how you can contact me. I was the last one to go, and I used my formula. And at the end of this event, she came over to me and she goes, "Oh my God, I need to know how to do that." And so we worked together. And the best part about that is that Maria shared with me that after working with me, her whole way of doing business changed, her whole way of having her relationships with her clients that she already had really got tremendously better. And so I think it's huge, and I want to share these steps with you. So networking shows up in all areas, especially today, right? Social media, events that we actually go on ground, after hours, when we go for education and we're in an auditorium, when we're having a one-on-one. Let's face it, we're networking right now. When you're with your family, you're networking. If you're dating and looking for a partner, you're networking. So why is that important? Well, do you stand by yourself and watch the crowd? Or do you jump right into the crowd? And when you do, how do you handle that? So I'm wondering if there was ever a time when you were driving to an event that you might have dreaded going in there because you had all these people that you weren't sure how you were going to meet, how you were going to build those connections, if you were going to generate new business, and how you felt when you got there and you had to like push the smile on your face and start saying hi to people that you've never seen before. Do you get excited when you're actually going back to your car and now you can go because it's safe, right? Well, I have. Do we generate a lot of business when we feel like that? I think we're hiding ourselves. For me, I was hiding this little person inside that just didn't want it. It was safer to stay hidden, right? So I'm curious, and I'd like to ask this first question before we go any further. The poll question, Chassie. Do number 1, and then we'll do number 2 because I think I missed that. And if you wouldn't mind, these are all anonymous, so if you wouldn't mind just, okay, that was fast. Watching all these numbers come in. Still have a few more votes.
Yeah, just a couple more votes.
Yeah. Now, I think it's important, that we answer all these questions. And I apologize for missing the first one. I was just too excited about talking to everybody and sharing all this information. And we're almost there. Okay. Okay, so it seems like my story is pretty familiar. And so I appreciate everybody sharing that with me. Looks like we had 71% that feel like they're wearing many hats often. 19% occasionally, and 10% rarely. So thank you very much for sharing that information with us. I'd like to ask you another question now, because networking does show up in all areas. How often do you network in any environment? And think about all the different areas that I just pointed out. Think about how it feels at any one of these events. Do some feel different than others? Do you feel like the same person in every networking area you're in? We have a few more folks. We're going to be getting to the good stuff. Okay, so 88% of you said you network in any environment often. We had 10% that said occasionally, and 2% that said rarely. So I'm hoping by the time we get to the end of this, you're all going to want to network often. Okay? So thank you so much, again, for sharing that information with us. I really do appreciate that. And now, bear with me, my mouse is not accommodating. So in business, Simon Sinek says, start with why. I'm sure every one of you have heard this an awful lot of times. Why the business? Why? What's their why? What's the business why? What's their mission? Well, what if you don't love what you do? Has anybody ever had a job that they didn't like? So if you've had a job that you didn't like, and this is kind of hard, guys, because I can't see all your faces. I'm assuming you're all nodding or acknowledging. If you didn't have a job that you really loved, was it easy to share that business why? Maybe, maybe not. Put it in the chat if you want to share a comment. I'd really appreciate that. And so, why is that important if you don't love what you do? Well, because people buy who you are. They don't buy what you do. So if you're not happy with what you do, how are you going to be able to really convey the message that you want to convey? So when using my 3 steps and my secret formula, when implemented correctly, you're going to be able to build completely different profitable connections and really improve the ones that you already have. So another Maria that I worked with, she sells health insurance. And I've heard, you know, well, there's so many people that sell health insurance, right? And so she said, this is like, how do I stand out from everybody else that does what I do? And through this work together and using these steps, she now goes out and she's a vice president of a networking organization. She's an ambassador for a chamber, and she tells everyone she meets, I'm the air traffic controller for health insurance because I not only guide my clients to the best insurance policy for them and their families, but I also make sure I stay the entire course with them to make sure that they're getting what they need. That's how she's standing out. And so it all starts with us. And where does that lead us? That's going to take us to what happens when you have all these business cards. What have you shared with all of those people that you met? I'm curious. So let's ask this next question, and this will take maybe a few more minutes for you to think about. The next poll question. When you network for business, what do you do with all the new business cards you get after the event? Do you follow up by phone or email within 24 hours? Do you follow up by phone or email within a week? Add the cards to others you have gotten at past events without following up? Look at the cards and not remember the person who gave you the card. And again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to really answer these questions. We have a few more people. There we go. Okay. So let me share these results with you. 23% said they follow up by phone or email within 24 hours. 44% said they follow up by phone or email within a week. 23% said they add the cards to others that they have gotten at past events without following up. And 10% said they look at the cards and not remember the person who gave you the card. So that's very important because of the fact that what we're going to do from here is start with step one. What's really important is your story, because your story is the foundation of what you believe and why you believe what you do. So even though you think you might know it, and when I've said this in person to people, usually they see a little mini movie that passes through their brain and they say, okay, that's my story, I got it. I want to challenge that, because the people I have worked with who have written it down and reviewed it multiple times, as I have, more times than I can count. I don't have enough digits to count how many times I've changed my story in this process. It's so important. And the reason is because it's not the details of your story, but it's really the one thing that doesn't change throughout your story. No matter what happens over the course of your life, and your story is going to always change, because every day we get another day older, right? Every day something else happens. So what's the one thing that doesn't change throughout your story? And why is that important? What do you want other people to know that you believe in so they trust you? How does that message, or the thing that you want them to know, actually connect with that one thing that doesn't change throughout the story? The thing that doesn't change throughout the story is who you are at your core. Now, before I discovered who I really, really was from examining my story, that's how I knew that that person was buried deep down inside, that even I didn't see who that was. And so it's really important to nail that down. And as simple as it sounds, that's where most people have the biggest challenge. And when we get through that story, then it's about your personal why you believe what you believe, who you are, and what you want other people to know about you, because people buy who you are, not what you do. So you attract people who believe what you believe. You have to be really clear on what you believe and why you believe it. And that's why it's so important to make sure you achieve this step before you can actually express the business why. Imagine if you had a job that you didn't love, but you conveyed that business why through your personal message based on what you believe. Do you think that might be different? I wonder. So, the next thing is, what's your secret identity? That person that's deep down at the core, the foundation of why you believe what you believe. And that comes from your story, because that secret identity was born from the one thing that never changes. Doesn't matter if you're 5 like I was with little hats, or young like I am now with bigger hats. It's your beliefs and values. And who you are at the core is your secret identity. And when you, no matter how things change around you, that doesn't change. So if no one could see who you are deep down, who do they see? If you're stuck on any one of these 3 steps, you have to revisit your story, because it all starts there. So why is this important? Because I believe that your 30-second commercial depends on it. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, you have the first 5 to 10 seconds to spark interest. Otherwise, people are not going to pay attention. How many events have you gone to where you might be sitting around a table and you're focused on where you have to go next, what's on your late schedule in the afternoon, and you're just waiting for everybody to pass around those business cards so you can leave with that nice big stack, right? But what
Okay, they
if
can
you,
open it.
what if you actually left with all those business cards and those were all really good connections that could lead to either a new client or a great referral? So the formula to attract those who believe what you believe, and this works because I do it and so do my clients, you start with what you believe. Then you tell them why you believe it. You tell them who you help, what problem you solve, and how you solve it. And when you've said all of that, and they're listening to you beyond those first 5 to 10 seconds, then you tell them your name, who you work for, and what you do. Because if you just tell them your name, who you work for, and what you do, they don't know why to believe that you're going to be better for them than anybody else who does what you do. And once they hear you say your name and your company, they're on to listening to the next thing or thinking about the next thing. It's amazing how you can transform how you build connections. So if you want better connections and you want to make better use of your time, you want to have better relationships and lead to new clients and referrals, this formula truly works once you get those 3 steps down. So I'm curious, let's go to poll question number 4. When you are networking, how often do you leave an event making successful new connections? Most of the time, sometimes, rarely. Any more? There we go. Okay, great. So 58% of you said most of the time, 40% of you said sometimes, 3% said rarely. Thank you again so much for sharing that information. It's important. Now, some of you will get this and run with it, or you've already gotten it and you're doing a great job. And for those of you who are thinking, wait, I really need to kind of think about this, that's okay too, because we all have the opportunity to improve no matter how much we need to level up from this day forward. So what's your next mission for the rest of this year? The mission is not impossible. If you had the time, if you didn't have to, if you didn't have to do other things or care for others, if it wasn't just all about money, would this mission feel more possible? So my question to you is this. Now, I had a client, Matthew, who actually opened up his business as a partner with someone less than a year ago, a little less than a year ago. So this pandemic that we're experiencing was not a happy experience for them. They were just building their business, and when COVID hit, they lost 50%. But we worked together from the day he started opening up his doors. He used to go around networking and hope that people would come and talk to him. He hoped that people would notice him and ask him questions. And after working together, he not only goes out there, he too became an ambassador for a chamber. And when COVID hit, he took the bull by the horns, completely shifted his business online, and very quickly started regaining that 50% of the business that they lost. And they're gaining every day. That's huge. Not everybody can say that. And so if you could kick the have to habit, if you could become number one on your to-do list, if you could love what you do, stand out in your industry, no matter how many other people do what you do, and build connections that turn into profitable networking, what's your next step? So I encourage you all to elevate your elevator pitch using these 4 steps. Save time, build better relationships, improve your return on investment, and take that first step. Because when you truly examine your story and you revisit it, when you know your personal why and you can apply it to your business why, when you can unwrap your secret identity, that person who is really so deep down inside, and be that one person in all networking areas, and be who you truly want to be, and use this formula, it's going to be life-changing. It works. The success of the clients that I have worked with in the past have learned it, have used it, have shared it, and their businesses are doing so much better. So I think I'd stopped a little bit early. I was concerned about the time, but I'd really love to be able to open up the floor, answer any questions, hear any comments, any shares. I really do prefer to interact with people so that I could see you. It's kind of hard looking at a PowerPoint for me. So I'm open to questions.
Lynn, we have some questions that came in chat, and I am just looking for them right now.
No worries.
See.
Actually, I know that Jessica Weiss, she emailed me a
That
couple of
was, yeah.
questions. Jessica, do you want to unmute yourself and ask those questions?
Hi, good morning. Sure. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask, one of them is when you do a lot of networking, how do you keep it organized? Like, how do you get someone's card, or you speak to someone, or you have a Zoom with them? How do you organize the system so you don't lose track of this person that you had a great networking experience with? So,
well, one of the things that I've done to keep myself organized is when I come home, if I don't have time before I get home, I'll always make a note about something specific about that person on their business card.
I do that.
That's going to remind me. When I get home, I actually enter all the contact information from the business card into my contact list, and I put a note. I put all the notes that I wrote on the card into that, into notes in that contact. And so it doesn't matter how much time goes by, I will always be able to go back, and then all my contacts, the dates that I contacted them, the dates I got the responses, I keep track of all of that.
So my question is, after I do all that, because I've been doing that, and I'm really proud of myself, I've been doing that,
right?
But then I lose track of them. Like, I don't remember to, like, do every couple months, do I send them an email? Do I call them? Like, it might not be, I have to decide, I think, who is more priority, I think, when I network, to follow up with them. But sometimes I lose track of, that person?
So the best thing to do is judge by whether or not you get a response. You can go back in and you can follow up later on, follow up a week later. I try to follow up within 24 to 48 hours after an event, and then I will follow up again a week later if I hadn't heard anything back. And I don't put those business cards anywhere until I get to that point where if I haven't heard from them, I'm going to put it aside. Now it's in my contact list, and I periodically send things out. But if you get a response from somebody, the first thing I do is try to plan a one-on-one. And it doesn't matter, even in this time of COVID, it doesn't matter, because I've been making great connections in Zoom rooms and scheduling one-on-ones from meeting them in a Zoom room.
So after you have that meeting, then they sometimes will send you a LinkedIn so you can connect with them. But in terms of like, maybe what I'm asking is like 6 months down the road, I've forgotten about that person. So if I want to keep, I made so much effort and made that networking originally. So if I want to keep them in the loop, kind of, maybe it's just things like if something new is going on in my field, I tried to make a list and emails so I could just shoot it out to people if something new is going on. Or I'm not so big on LinkedIn, but maybe something goes on LinkedIn, now they're part of my LinkedIn group. Because I don't think you can really keep track of everyone. It's just too many people, you know. What kind of...
No, and that it does get a little crazy, because you do get hundreds of people on a list, and maybe even more the longer you're doing it. So the thing that's helped me is I set reminders. Okay. If you set a reminder, it doesn't matter what else you're getting involved in. That reminder is going to pop up, and you're going to say, okay, yeah, I need to touch base with that person.
Good idea.
Okay. The reality is we do a lot of networking. We all do a lot of networking because networking is in all areas, and you can't keep track of everybody that you come in contact with. And certainly the older we get, the more people we know. And some of us have thousands of people on our lists, and we're not going to have this really close connection with every single one. But what we are going to have is really great connections with the people who believe what we believe. Okay, so when you do that, you need to set reminders. Okay, I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. I was kind of adverse to using Google Calendar for a while, and I decided I was going to use it. I bought calendars. I've tried everything, but Google Calendar updates in real time on all my devices. So no matter where I am, if I'm out and I meet somebody that I want to make sure that I follow up with, I'll put a reminder or schedule an event right there in my phone, and it's going to pop up and remind me. Because the thing is, we do get a lot of things that we have to do through the course of the day. And so I hope that's helpful, and I'll be more than happy to have a one-on-one with you and talk about it a little further.
And I'll put you in my contacts then.
Thank you very much. I'll do the same.
So Lynn, one of the things that's coming in from a lot of people, and actually I was going to ask the same thing, is they want to hear your 30-second pitch. What is Lynn Lascelles' 30-second pitch?
Well, I believe that if you focus on the have-tos and you wear so many hats, you need to change and become number one on your to-do list. And having been a mom who raised her kids working alone, I was working and I was alone with raising those kids. I help executive moms learn how to kick the have-to habit, become number one on their to-do list so they can network like a superhero in any environment. My name is Lynn Lascelles. My company is It's Why, and I'm a certified health and life transformation coach.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm going to share with you, I've had many pitches. It depends sometimes on my audience, who I'll share different pieces of what I do. I may start talking and say, I have what I refer to as many hat syndrome. And I told them the story I told you. It started when I was little, and my hats got bigger as I got older. I only wear one hat now, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not the richest woman in the world. My kids live far away. I don't really get to see them all the time. I don't live in an 8-bedroom house. And COVID has affected me just like it's affected everybody else. But here's the thing that I want you to know. When I discovered that secret identity, and I only wear that one hat, everything in life changed for me. And the reason is because the facts don't change. What happens around you doesn't change. People in your life don't change. And the stressors don't go away. The only thing you can do is improve your resilience. Everything is about the way you perceive those facts. So I'm choosing to perceive everything that's going on. All of these things that we hear on the news, the fear of going to the grocery store and getting the virus, I'm choosing not to allow that to take away what I have, which is the fact that I get to live in Florida. I have a roof over my head. I have food on my table, and I have my health, which is something you can't buy, and it's something you can't replace. Mm-hmm. Everything else, as Marie Forleo says, is figure-outable. And if you take that attitude when you're networking, guess what? People are going to see you, not the business you, the person. It's the person that makes a difference. I'll share with you, I had somebody tell me that in their industry, there are so many other people in their industry that do the same thing. What they do is so vanilla. So I ask you, would you want to do business with that person? Maybe, maybe not. But if you had somebody that really expressed why they do what they do and how they feel about it, like my client Maria, who's just said, it's so important to me for the families that I work with to have great health insurance and to make sure that they're maintaining the coverage that they need. I would want to talk to that person. So what can you do to stand out in your industry? What is that one thing that never changes in your story? Some of you may connect with what I have said today, and some of you may not. Some of you may like the way I do my 30-second pitch. Some of you may not. What I will share with you is that I have had people come up to me at the end of an event where you're talking to the whole room at the same time, and they come up to me and they say, wow, I was hanging on your every word. Like I couldn't wait for you to tell me who you were and get your call. Doesn't mean that they became a client, but I guarantee you they will talk about me, because if they thought enough to come up to me and say, wow, I really love the way you shared what you do. That's what you can accomplish with these 3 steps in this formula. Does anybody have any other questions?
We do have another question. Actually, a couple people asked if you could provide some examples with the 4 steps that you talked about.
Examples. I can give you my own personal examples if that's acceptable to everybody.
Sure.
Okay, so with the story, which is the key part, and I will tell you that all the clients that I've worked with, that's usually where they get stuck. Everybody thinks they know their story. And for those of us who are older, we think about all these different things that have happened over the course of our life. Our life is evolving every day because everything changes around us. For me, when I had to think of my story at first, I thought of all the dirty details. All the negative things popped into my head. This has made me who I am today. Well, when I went back and I read it again, I said, ooh, I don't want to say that. I don't want to do that. Oh, maybe I need to add this. I must have changed my story 40 times. And I'm going to share with you that there was one day I changed my story on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram 12 times in one day. And I thought to myself, it's going to give a notification that I changed my story. I changed my story. I changed my story. I said, I don't care. I need to make sure I'm comfortable with my story. Now that was a long time ago. And I've changed it several times since then. I even updated it as recently as last week. And the reason why you always have to go back and revisit your story is to make sure that that one thing that doesn't change is still there, and that you're conveying the message that connects to what you believe. You can't really get to your personal why until you get through your story. So for me, and I'm going to be specific because it's my example, I started out telling people I survived toxic relationships. I had to raise my kids by myself while working multiple jobs. I was so stressed that I developed physical consequences, and doctors would tell me, you're the healthiest patient I've seen today. And I'm like, really? Is that helpful? No, it's not helpful, because now I had to find my own solutions on top of everything else. I was so stressed, and that stress was killing me. That is not information that anybody else really needs to know. But a good portion of you related to me saying, I wear many hats, and I have for a good period of time. You related to that. Your details of what connects to those many hats is completely different than my details that connects to many hats. So the details don't matter. It's the thing that makes you who you are today. What makes me who I am today is that I decided finally that it doesn't matter who anybody else expects me to be. It matters who I expect me to be, and I have to love myself for that. And that makes a huge difference. And it all sounds simple, and it sounds like it's not rocket science, and it really isn't, until you're the one who has to really dig deep down inside and do it. The day that I heard myself tell somebody out loud, for the first time in my life, I love myself, I did one of these. Because I couldn't believe I said it, and I was the only one home. So maybe this resonates with you, maybe it doesn't. I'm willing to answer any personal questions that anybody has, because I have no secrets, and everything that I've been through is the reason why I am who I am, and the reason why I network the way I network. Okay, I network in 5 different cities, and I have the same success in all of them. So, and the people that I've worked with are in all different cities, and they're having the same success as well. When you put the work in, it's not easy to visit the story. And although that sounds like the simplest piece out of all of it, everybody I work with is truly the hardest. I actually have somebody on a waiting list for an upcoming workshop because they want to come back, because they were never able to accomplish it on their own. And so, I don't know, did that answer any of those questions?
I think so.
Okay, does anybody have any additional questions?
Hi, Lynn. Rosie and Joe. I do have a question. When we do a presentation, our first slide is a picture of my mother and her aide Luce. And we started Allegiance Home Health when we had a physical therapy clinic together, and our patients needed help at home with their loved one or a neighbor. And then my mom had surgery, and she received home health services, and we were not happy with them. And Joe and I said, we can do this so much better. We can give seniors dignity at home when no one is watching. And that is our story. So we always say that in a presentation. We started this because of my mother. But like today when I spoke, we didn't mention that. Is that something that you think that I should always mention to everyone I meet, that we started the company because of my mother.
Why not? Do you think that if you're putting it in a presentation and that's going to touch somebody's heart, why would you not want to do that all the time? So here's the thing, and everybody, if you'll indulge me for just a moment. When I say people don't buy what you do and they buy who you are, this is the key piece of that is you have to not sell your solutions when you're doing, you're telling people what you believe. You have to talk about the problem, because if you're approaching somebody who needs your service, then they need to resonate with how they feel in that moment. They don't want to hear somebody who's got the answers, because they're stuck. And it doesn't matter whether they're stuck with a lousy insurance, or they're stuck in a lousy apartment, or they're stuck in a lousy hotel, or they're just stuck in their life. It doesn't matter. They're stuck. So what we want to share with them are the things that are going to let them know that we understand where they are. We have to connect with what they'll hear. So when you speak to somebody, and I have a great passion for what you do, Rosie and Joe, honestly, because I was actually going to go in and do some work with, the senior communities before the COVID happened, to be able to help the caregivers and the families of the residents and be available for residents. So I have a great passion for what you do. So here's the thing. My great aunt, and I got very close when I moved to Florida, and she was staying at home, and she had a caregiver that didn't give her a lot of heart care. She just went through the motions. The two of them were miserable and unhappy. That sucked. She died at 99 a few years ago, so not a terrible life, but she was miserable and alone at home. And so I would have loved to have known what I know now about home health care from meeting the people that I've met in the chamber. I would love to have known then what I know now about these senior communities, because I could have probably insisted on making a difference for my aunt who didn't want to leave her home. Now that nod, Rosie, I'm saying you're connecting with that, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Luce, she's in every presentation because she was my mom's aide. I had a lot of guilt as a working daughter that I could not provide the care that my mom needed. My father died of a sudden heart attack, and then I became the instant caregiver. And when Luce came into our life, she gave us peace of mind. She treated my mom like a queen. My mom was always walking in the mall with her, getting her hair done, her nails done, things that as a working daughter, I could not do. And I felt a lot of guilt. And instead it created a much better relationship with my mother. And I would actually go to my mom's house and have lunch, but Luce had prepared it. And I would sit and listen to all of my mom's stories. And this went on for 8 years. So at the very end, when my mom was passing, she was more like an angel who was passing, and I had peace of mind, and I had given her a great life, just like she had given me a great life, but with the help of Luce. So that's really, I really empathize with people who are very busy and need that extra help.
So Rosie, I'm sorry for interrupting, because I know we're going to end up running out of some time here, and I just want to offer a suggestion to you, if that's okay.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
What if you were at a networking event and you met somebody and you say, as a working daughter responsible for a mom, it was so hard to take care of what I had to do for my whole family and take care of my mom. But I believe that it's so important for my mom to get the best care possible. And so that's why we started this business, to make sure that we can provide that care for other people who are working children who need to take care of their parents. I believe that makes a complete difference in their life. And so I help other working parents find the right, best people, children, to take care of their parents so that they can do what they need to do with a peace of mind that their parents are well taken care of. My name is Rosie. I work with Allegiance, blah, blah, blah.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because honestly, we talk about that in a presentation, and that's when people really understand our passion. But when I meet people, I really don't tell them what you're suggesting, unless we're talking for a few hours and then that comes up. So I love that suggestion to bring that even when I'm networking.
And it'll take some time to refine what you do, and depending on the audience that you're talking to, you may want to change it up. And the more you do all of this, the more things are going to come to your mind. I just think it's powerful. You know, this chamber that we're all a member of offers us such amazing opportunities to make connections. They give us amazing workshops for learning and creativity. They just give us so much. We are not maximizing the opportunities that they're giving us. And that's one of the reasons why I actually wanted so badly to do this presentation for the chamber, because in all the networking that I've done, I know what I'm hearing from other people. And if there's any way that I can help, I feel like it's my responsibility to do that. So I appreciate very much, Rosie, for you allowing me to share a suggestion with you. And, you know, I'm open to having a one-on-one with you as well, because I'm very passionate about what you do.
Thank you.
Lynn, before we close out, Wendy Rosenblatt has a question. Wendy, would you like to go ahead and ask it?
Yes, can you all hear me? Yes, good
Yes.
morning. Yes, I was wondering, how can we network the way that I really appreciate this whole inspirational advice that you're giving us, Lynn, but how can we network and do all of this during this COVID period when we're not really going anywhere? You know, I'm not. I am a placement advisor for seniors, taking people to assisted living, memory care, and independent living. I can do virtual tours. My places are amazingly safe, but it's a difficult time, you know, for me to do the networking right now, since I'm not going in person places like I used to.
Wendy, thank you so much for asking that question. That is a great question. And I'm going to share with you that I have made more deeper connections since COVID started than I was making even before that. And the reason is because when you have an opportunity to use the virtual space, and some of us have to learn a little more than others. I've been doing it myself. But when you have the opportunity to use the virtual space, use it. I can promise you, I have gotten invited from people that I know to this virtual connection, and I go to whatever I can. And the first thing I do, because you can't exchange a business card, is I write down every name that I see on the screen. When I get off that call, well, on the call, I'll put in the chat, hey, would you like to get together? Or I'll put my information in. You'll find when you put your information in a chat, you're going to see how many other people start putting their information in the chat. Did you know that you can, in most cases, save the chat as a text file so you could print it out and look at it and find all that information? So you have a way to be able to get other people's information. You have a way to give them your information. You have a way to make those connections. You have to take that step. But here's the thing. When you're on a Zoom call, you have to pay attention to the people that you're talking to. You have to pay attention to their faces. You have to engage, because if you're that one person that is standing all the way back here and everybody else is over there, It's not going to happen. So you have to take that first step. And you have that much more attention being brought to what you said. So if you use the 3 steps and you use the formula, it's going to work. I got on a coffee virtual connection. There was 25 people in the room. Within a week, I had 3 meaningful one-on-ones on Zoom. That lasted almost an hour. It can be done. It's scary. It may seem a little overwhelming, but it can be done. So I encourage all of you, as you get the information of all the people that are on this call, this webinar, I would say, try to reach out to some of these people. If you haven't had a one-on-one with them, schedule it. Do a Zoom call. Zoom is free and it's unlimited if you're only talking one-to-one. Make it happen. You don't have to spend any money to go meet for coffee. You don't have to meet for lunch. You don't have to worry about travel time. It's right there. You have the opportunity to make way more connections. I hope that's helpful, Wendy.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for everything you said. There were so many wonderfully positive things that were in the chat box. I hope you take the opportunity to read them. People really appreciated everything that you said. And I think everybody walked away with more than one thing that's going to change the way they do business right now. So, you know, please make sure that you look at our website. We have a lot of more programs coming up. Download the Chamber app. And we'll see you at another Zoom event soon. And stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
You as well.
I wanted to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, June 21st.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Lynn. Great presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you all being here and sharing with me.